Okay.
Okay, I'm going to record now. Okay. Um, so, yeah, well, thank you. And I was going to give this talk initially, um, obviously live, and it didn't have the piece in brackets. So it was originally how to manage your life as well as your business, because the cohort of women starting businesses is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. But as we know, and running a business, setting up a business is really time consuming, as everybody knows, and overwhelming. But often we're also trying to juggle that with managing life, managing all the other things that are going on. So that was the original talk. And now it's sort of almost double whammy, because you're trying to manage your life as well as your business at the same time. Now, often we were as well, and a lot of us work from home, so you were already juggling work and sort of home and possibly children and possibly other stuff. So it's just a lot more intense at the moment. So just to introduce myself, I spent 15, 20 years working in the non-profit sector as a campaign writer. I was Deputy Director of UNICEF Ireland and Director of Fundraising and Communications at Barnardo's. And then when I stepped back from that, when I had my own children, I have, over the course of the last 15 years, run two businesses, both of which I still run, although one is much more prevalent than the other. So I work as a freelance copywriter. So I still do a lot of campaign writing for the nonprofit sector. And a journalist. So, and that's one business, making words work. And then I also am a qualified life coach, and I coach as the Midlife Coach, working with women specifically, just find themselves in the midst of all the stuff that they have to manage. So the first actual slide that I wanted to show you was, this was I have a book published a couple of years ago called The Sandwich Years. And this was actually, it came about because the publisher saw my blog, and this was the piece I got done up for my blog, to show that there was me in the middle, laptop one hand, trying to be a decent parent on the other, sandwiched between running a family and caring for my parents. My mother had a stroke. Now, since then, my mum has gone from that picture and my husband has gone from that picture. But the squeeze of those sandwiches feels even tighter now, because I'm now, of course, concerned for my father. He's living alone out in Belfast. I'm managing 3 kids. The menagerie is still there. In fact, we've added to the animals. And in the midst of those sandwiches, I'm also trying to run businesses and look after myself. And I think why I wrote the blog at the time, and also why it ended up becoming a book, is because I think in many ways that scene just replicates so many people's lives. It might be different people and slightly different things, but it is this sort of glorified vision of women having it all. But I think what sort of has tended to happen is that women feel that they're nearly doing it all. And as we know ourselves from all the research and statistics, there's a lot of burnout and stress and overwhelm. So, and I'm going to go into the positive in a second. I just wanted to sort of set the scene, because I know women are really juggling so many aspects, their home life, and the emotional burden that women carry, probably in a way that a lot of men don't carry as much, although maybe they're seeing it a lot more at the moment, which is no bad thing. And this feeds into this idea of, there's a wonderful book came out a few years ago called The Triple Bind, Saving Our Teenage Girls from Today's Pressures and Conflicting Expectations. It's by Rachel Krantz, and really worth a read, because it's about our generation and what we have now lived through. And we have to be really good at all the female stuff. Sorry, we've got to be really good at now at all the male stuff. We've got to now be in the boardroom, be at the top, all those things that we were promised we could have it all. We've got to break the glass ceiling. We've also got to still be really good at all the female stuff. We've still got to be really good nurturers and carers, and, you know, the mummy wars still persist about who's the best mum and who can bake, and sort of I put that as calling washing the glass ceiling. And then the third bind is, on top of all of this, we've actually got to look great, feel great, be fit, have our own, you know, do all these things. So I put that as looking sexy while breaking and washing the glass ceiling. And so a lot of women are caught in that bind where you're trying to be all things to all people, plus look great on Instagram, or at least your dinners look good on Instagram. if so I think it's just that idea that the positive, and you asked me about my book is called The Midlife Manual. And it's because we are a generation of women who have an opportunity that no other generation in history have ever had. We have an extra 20 years of life from even a generation and a half ago. And it's not at the end of our lives, it's in the middle. This is glorious space. After, you know, the sort of hecticness of raising a small family, we've suddenly got these amazing 20 years, but we don't quite know what to do with them. And it's this sort of, we've got this space, we've got this place, we've got all this creativity. We're not sort of retired and reduced like women, you know, women sort of, as soon as they sort of finish their breeding years, were desexualized, devalued, and kind of put into the background to knit. Whereas now we're seeing women in this space absolutely flourish and bloom and start businesses and run businesses along a family and have potential that just didn't exist before. But it does come, I suppose, with pressure. And what I want this talk to be about is just how do you make sure that you get the best and manage your life as well as you be managing a business. And I mean, what's being proven all the way with women in business, and Pauline, you will be seeing this so much with the work that you do, is that women are really good at running businesses because we have a lot of the skills, we have a lot of the ability to juggle. We're bringing so much creativity to it and a different thing. And I love, there was a Forbes article last week, and it's not about blowing air up gender bottoms, but there was a sort of a look at the female leaders who are driving this COVID response. Look at New Zealand, look at Denmark, look at South Korea, look at Germany, all being the response in those countries, partly because they're making decisive action and they're doing really good, but they're also doing it with compassion, which I think is missing from maybe some of the, you know, the countries who maybe saw, this is, you know, the economy is a priority, whereas I think a lot of women-led countries, and Ireland, it has to be said too, have seen it as a human problem first, and the economy will be fixed afterwards. And I think there's a real disparity between how those two approaches have played out in the various countries, looking at maybe the UK and US as an example. So I think women are in a really brilliant place right now. We're all, I mean, just listening to all of your stories there, such a wide range of exciting ideas and businesses, and but you can see from all of this, we're all doing it while managing other stuff. So that's why I wanted to talk about this. So the most important thing for me is to set your compass. And this is something I work with, when I coach women, I coach them either on their life, their business, usually they're entwined, or different aspects, but it always comes down to this. Often we can sort of lead through many, many years without ever stopping to reevaluate what is our compass, what is driving us, what are the values that really go behind this. And that's why when a lot of people come to me for coaching, is that they've actually sort of nearly been on autopilot for 10 or 15 years. They've just got their head down. They've just plowed through, maybe working a job they never really thought about, that raising a family, surviving rather than thriving. And then they wake up and wonder why their life isn't feeling the way they want it to feel. And that's maybe because they're not living to their values. So that compass correction often is really, really important. And the values thing is, that's just a piece of work where you actually just stop and decide what is the backstory behind my front story. Where do I want to go to? So a value for me, for example, and this is not, nobody's values are right or wrong, they're just what's right for them based on your own experience. So one of my values, for example, because I know from experience that I don't thrive in situations where I don't feel I've got autonomy. So I know that one of my values is agency. I know that another one of my values is creativity and love of learning. So I'm really good in a space where I can be a freelancer, where I can set up, but I can do stuff because I have, although there's bad stuff that come, or difficult things that come with that, because my value is based on me being able to try and have more autonomy over my life, that works well for me. For someone whose value is security, that would be a very difficult course to run to, and that's where they would find that very, very difficult. So understanding what your values are is actually really, really important. Is it family? Is it connection? Is it work? Is it, you know, what are the things that are ultimately driving you? Your strengths is really important. And again, setting your compasses every so often is to look and say, where have I succeeded before? How can I push myself through this experience? And I think if you're the kind of person who's okay about learning, and which I, that I'm sure you've all heard of the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. What are your strengths? What are the things that will pull you through the tough times? So it's not about not having tough times. It's about understanding, what have I got in my backpack? What's happened to me in the past? Look where I've overcome stuff before. Look where I've succeeded. What are the things that have taken place for me to do that? And your goals, and it sounds daft, and I don't want to say goals in the concept of they have to be smart and all of that, because we all know that, and especially if you're a business person, I don't want to teach you how to suck eggs. As business people, we all know what goals means. But these are your own personal goals, because this is actually about how do you manage your life as well as your business. And it's okay to have business goals, but I think it's essential to have good business goals. And I have business goals. I'm sure you all have very clear goals about your business, but it's equally as important to have those goals for your own personal life. And then not see them as two separate entities, because one business goal might make one of your personal goals impossible. So it's about understanding and giving yourself some thought to, what are my own personal goals as a person in terms of growth, in terms of development? How does that align with my goals as a business person? Which leads me on to, actually, it was a Leo talk. So just sorry, quickly on that, set your compass. Every so often, so easy to get drawn constantly into dramas that we're all living one right now. And it sets us off path. So it's so important every so often, just course correct. Keep going back. Why did I start this business in the first place? Why did I start the business in the first place? Because it's so easy to start the business, and then you roll down the road and you firefight and things happen and you build up and you get opportunities and you lose track of why you started in the first place. Because at any point in time, there's always crossroads you're going to take. And unless you keep course correcting and making sure that you're back on your compass, you might well go down a road that looks like a wonderful opportunity, but it doesn't feed back to the original goal and value of why you started the business and what do you want from your life down that road. And the person who highlighted me for this really well was actually at a Leo talk last year, and it was Andrea Horan of Tropical Popical, and she did a talk, and she was a big into marketing, and she had a very successful career. And then something very personal happened in her life. She lost someone very close to her, and her sister went traveling for a year. And in that year, they decided to set up Tropical Popical, because what they wanted to do was, they realized that they were just, their head was down a rabbit hole. They were just work, and they weren't living the life that they actually wanted to live. So they decided to set up Tropical Popical, which is a nail bar in Dublin, with a hugely different concept from nail bars at the time. Very fun, very tropical. You get a lilt when you go in, or you get offered a lilt. But the reason she set it up was because she understood that what nourished her was creativity and freedom. So she wanted to travel, but she wanted to do something creative. And she thought, if I go back into the marketing world, plus she had skills and she knew what her strengths were. She knew she could market and push things. So she didn't know anything about nails, but she knew she could make something different, and she knew she could market. She had those skills. But the most important thing was she understood what her definition of success was. So she set this business up, not to become a wonderful businesswoman, but to create a lifestyle where she could be creative, where she could take time off to travel, earn enough money, and to have enough time to travel and do other things that she wants. So it was a vehicle. So of course, one day Tropical Popical actually becomes very successful in its own right. And then one day Saoirse Ronan is in there getting her nails done and gets the text that she's been nominated for an Oscar. Later, she's on Ellen in the States, and she mentions Tropical Popical. She's sitting there getting her nails done. Well, everybody now wants to know about Tropical Popical. People are asking Andrea to set one up in New York. She's being asked to expand in Dublin, put one in Cork, and this was the really important part of the talk that really got to me. She said, I understood those were other people's definition of success. Here I have a fantastic business model. Of course, they think that success means more and bigger. But my definition of success was that I had a lifestyle where I could have this vehicle that gave me opportunities to do other stuff. Since then, she's been the first nail bar ever to have an exhibition in the National Gallery. She has campaigned and used her platform to do some political campaigning and stuff. So that was really important to me because it fits so well with what we do as business people and women, and keeps going back to setting your compass. What is your definition of success? It may not be the same as the traditional definition of success. More and bigger is one. Freedom to have a lifestyle that you want is another. So making sure that you understand, why are you doing this, and what will success look like? So I put a picture up there of a laptop in Bali, because one of my definitions of success is not to be more and bigger, is to be able to have a lifestyle where I can work 3, 4, 5 months of the year in other places as my children get older. My goal eventually is to organize, and I'm starting to do midlife retreats in this country with another friend who does Pilates, another friend who does other things, and it's a whole package thing. And we eventually want to be able to take those to places like Bali and go take women away for a week where they completely nourish and reboot themselves and set their compass. So that's a goal for me. And ever so often something will come my way and I'll go, oh, that's great, but does that take me to my goal? So it's about just understanding your compass. What is your definition of success? It may not be the traditional success model. It might be, but it might not be. So just keeping those in mind. So then in terms of managing your life and your business, as we all know, is the whole time management thing. But it's not just, again, managing your business in one silo and your life as a separate silo. Weirdly, we're all now actually living the very compact version of what we actually do as women running businesses anyway, which is actually really meshing our home lives and our business lives. In a way that when you're out doing a job in a 9-to-5 office, maybe you don't have the same level of meshing. So I don't know if any of you have read Mark Manson, or do you read Mark Manson? His was the book, Everything is, am I allowed to swear on the Leo talk?
Oh yeah, go on.
So his book was Everything is Fucked, a book about hope, and his previous one was How Not to Give a Fuck but Make the Best of Your Life, or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. He's brilliant. He's a really good psychologist in terms of the way he puts things. So he has this really ideal called Choose Your Problems. Nobody's going to have a problem-free life, ever. So choose the problems that you want. So I choose the problems of having to juggle work and kid life in one space because I work from home. I choose that problem over the problem of having to find childcare for my kids because I'm in an office. So it's about and where somebody else would much prefer to shoot that problem of having to worry about childcare than the problem. So it's, again, whatever suits you, go back to your compass, go back to your strengths and skills. So this idea of routine, of time management, is about managing your life and your business as interwoven but very separate things, because there's a point where you really have to separate them, which a lot of us don't do enough of, especially if you work from home and the work is always there. So the thing about time management isn't just about siloing off work and family life. It's about understanding that routine has to embody both aspects of those. And as I say, that couldn't be more highlighted at the moment because we're all literally working from home. So one of the things that I do with my clients, because they say to me, but I just don't have the time. I don't have the time to do X, Y, and Z. And I said, well, you don't have the time in your current routine. So let's look at your current routine. Let's look at where and how you're spending time. And literally look at where you may have to, you may identify then spaces of time, and we often do, and I'll tell you how in a second. And then you may actually have to create time, and we all know that. So the thing that I do is a thing called golden time, silver, and bronze. So I'll say, so for example, I look at my children because I have to manage them in and around my work. What is their golden time with me? What is the time that they specifically need me as a person, their mother? When is the silver time that they need me? Well, they need me, you know, mostly a person who loves them deeply and has their back. But it may not necessarily be me. And then bronze time is where they basically just need an adult to stop them playing with knives. And it could be anybody, right? So when I broke that down, I realized that there are actually very specific times that I call golden. And the golden times for them is when I do nothing else except them. So for each of them, actually, for me, it's their morning, getting them up, getting them out. And then each of them needs a bit of a half-hour cuddle and a chat in the evening. There's lots of silver time when they definitely need me, but I can be doing other stuff. I can also, it's not that one-on-one time. And then the bronze time is basically, look, they don't give a damn one way or the other, whether I'm dead or alive. They just need somebody in the house to feed them. So once you see that, and then you look at your own gold and silver time. So I realized that one of my big frictions in life was that I wanted to write. I set myself time every evening to write. But when I looked at their schedule, their gold and silver and bronze time, the time that I want to write is their golden time. And that's why it was causing me so much friction, because I kept saying, I've no time to write, I've no time to write, I've no time to write. Because I was wanting to write at the one time that they needed me most. So I changed my routine around. So the first thing I do every day, those first 2 hours, they're my golden time to work when they've gone to school. That's my writing time. And everything gets fitted in around after that. And then I have sort of silver time work, which I can do when the kids are home doing homework. So I can be at the table, I save all my emails, I save all the stuff that I don't have to think about too much, admin stuff. So I sit at the table where they're home doing their homework. That's their silver time, and it's my silver time, and that actually works quite well together. And then there's my bronze time, which is stuff that I just need to do, but I don't need anybody around, or I can do it. So for example, I would never in a million years do housework when my children aren't in the house. Wouldn't dream of it, because that's my golden time. And as so many women I coach go, oh, I wait for the kids to leave the house and then I do all the housework. No, you can do the housework in their bronze time when they don't care who's there as long as there's an adult in the house. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So it's about understanding what is your gold and silver bronze work time, what is your family or whoever it might be. You may not have children, it might be partner, it might be parent care, it might be something else. And make sure there aren't clashes. And you may have 3 of these. So sometimes the clients and I get them to do it on a see-through sheet and lay them on top of each other. And then you identify the clashes. There should never be, somebody else, a partner's golden time on the same time as your work time, because that's never going to work. So understanding your routine involves the big picture of your life, not just siloing work, siloing home, siloing everything else, that they actually all do sit on top of each other. And then you can create time and space. You may have to change things up. You go, oh, I've never ever done that piece of work in the morning, but now I'm going to do that piece of work in the morning. And then if you want to create extra time, so for example, in this crisis, I'm waking at 7 every morning. I get 2 hours done in bed before the kids get up of writing, because I know that's golden time. Because my original golden time, which used to be sort of 9 to 11, is completely gone because now the kids are home. So it's about understanding, but you always make sure that what is your space and time. And that sits in with relationships too. It's about understanding that, well, if each of my relationships need golden, silver, bronze time. There is a certain time I need to devote myself 100% to my partner or my child or my parent or my friends or whoever it might be. That's their space and that fits in. Because quite often what we're trying to do is, without understanding there's a sort of triage element, it's I've got all of this to do and I'm going to do it all in the hour, but actually you're not giving any decent attention to anybody. And then the third part of that time management is the rest piece. And it's this, I can say this a lot to people and they don't really get it, because it's very hard to rest when you feel that there's a lot of stuff going on. And I feel at the moment, I feel, God, if I sat down and read a book right now, someone somewhere will be looking at me, because I should be working and I should be playing Monopoly with my children and I should be doing X, Y, and Z. No, I'm very happy to take an hour and sit in the sun and read a book if I know that I have taken that time management space out, because that's as nourishing to me as for somebody else to go for a run or do something else. And I was working with a client last week, and she runs she's the founder of a very, of a sort of software company, very dynamic startup, all the rest of it. So obviously they're all at home, and her massive concern is making sure that all of her staff are well, safe, good, they've got all the requirements they need to work, plus she's actually still managing the business, plus she's doing everything else. So we were talking through some stuff, and she says, you know, I'm the office mom. I'm the office mom. So I'm the one. So she literally has a spreadsheet. God love her. She's amazing. She literally has a spreadsheet of all of her staff, and she notes when they're engaged, when they're on, who's talked to, and then she makes it, oh, they haven't had any contact today. And she makes a point of having a conversation with them or whatever. And then she's in a family. She's the eldest child of 4. She doesn't have any children herself, but she's the eldest child of 4, and they're dealing with different things. And she's the family mum, she says. So she's the one who organises this, that, and the other. And I said to her, and who's your mum? And she just burst into tears because she wasn't allowing all of the care and attention and love she was giving to managing her family and managing her business colleagues to herself. And I said, what would you say right now to one of your staff if they said, I'm really overwhelmed, I'm really stressed, and da-da-da? She'd go, oh, I tell them to take a break. None of this is actually as important as just, I said, okay, so you need to be having those conversations with yourself. And we came up with the whole thing. She actually completely weirdly has this very bizarre creative hobby thing, which she has started, and it's fabulous. And now because all our days are stretched, she's now deciding that at lunchtime, instead of yet another Zoom call, she's going to do half an hour of this sewing thing, because that's actually when a lot of her thoughts come to the surface. And I'm sure some of you are the same. It's only when you stop and do something separate, different for yourself, that often thoughts and things will come up. So that rest piece is so important. And it's as important as the work and the family. It's your piece, that your life piece. And when I see women, when I'm coaching them, they always forget that piece. And there was a wonderful writer, and God, my mind's just gone blank. She wrote Prosaic Nation. Anyway, she died in January. Huh?
Is it Naomi Klein?
No, it's Elizabeth.
Oh, I know the woman who died a couple of months ago.
She died in January at 52 of cancer. So she'd written Prozac Nation when she was in her 20s, and she was a prolific writer ever since. And the last essay she wrote, she knew she was dying. The last essay she wrote and was published the week after she died was, I mean, she's one of those writers who just punches you in the face with her words. She's amazing. And she wrote this piece, and it was so sad. She said, of all the things I did in my life, the thing I forgot to do was me. And that is a really powerful thing. And a lot of when I'm coaching, and it happened to myself, I lost myself and had to find it all back. And I don't mean that in a woo-woo way. I mean, it's very easy to forget to do you. And the business is really exciting, and it's probably driven from a spark and a passion, which is amazing, as is your other aspects of your life. But you've got to treat yourself as part of that business and part of that life too. So one of the things, and it's again far more relevant now even than it was before, is this idea of triaging. And we're possibly juggling a lot of stuff. Business care, we're trying to make huge epic decisions about how we change our businesses at the moment, from online to offline, or how do we even manage, or how do we protect people that we're working with, or how do we just keep going? We're possibly managing childcare, we're possibly managing parent care, we're definitely managing home care, and we're hopefully trying to do self-care too. I hope we're all sensible enough, and I've just given that thing. But the triage piece is really important, and it goes back to nearly that concept of, you've got the big picture, which is setting your compass regularly. Every so often, just come back. Am I still on the right path? Am I still heading north? Or have I been slightly diverted west, northeast? Oh no, I've got to reset. That's the big picture stuff. Triage is the small moment to moment, day to day stuff. So it's very easy to just keep on doing routines because that's the way we've done it, without assessing every so often, is this still the right thing to be doing in this moment? So triaging is understanding that this week, actually what was important a few weeks ago might not as be important now. And there's a slightly different importance, and I think we're all feeling it a little bit at the moment, reassessing what's important. But and it can happen even in an hour, where you think, right, I've got to get this report done, I've got to get this report done. Something else comes in, and instead of that you may or may not be more important. And I think what a lot of us end up doing, and I'm sure a lot of you have read Stephen Covey's 7 Habits book, it's so easy to get into that quadrant of just responding to crisis, and then we get out of the really important quadrant, which is all of the thing where you plan and you think ahead and you put in place all the procedures and structures and stuff. So that triage piece is really important, where you just stop and go, am I going down the adventure, the drama road, or am I focused still on what's important? And although this looks like a blazing emergency, is it? Triage. And it could be, at the moment, it could be a case of, look, I've got this report to do, but I've also got to get my kids set up on online schooling right this minute. Plus I've got to order something for my parent food-wise. Just triage that moment. And it could be the thing that you have just been so conditioned to thinking is the most important thing, isn't in that moment. Still important, but you have to triage it a little bit. I think because I've been coaching my kids all weekend and all they do is roll their eyes. Whenever I go to say this now, I'm just expecting them to go, oh my God, no more self-care. So the idea of self-care at the moment is, I put this one in just because of this, because the feel your feelings thing is really, really important, because I think we're all probably feeling lots of new feelings at the moment. And if you're anything like me, you just want to keep the ship steady. But I think in order to keep the ship steady, you've really got to understand what's happening. So I am sure, and we'll probably talk about this in the end when we open up again and we're all chatting a bit more. I definitely have waves. I've had clear periods where I'm good, I'm okay, I feel very grateful that I have a garden. I feel very grateful that everyone is okay at the moment. Of course, I'm lost and losing business and things, and we have to pivot and do different things, but on the whole, I'm okay. And then I have waves of, oh my God, is this going to go on for weeks? And are we all going to be speaking to each other at the end of this? And I think that's really important, that we understand that we are going to be feeling hugely anxious. And everybody I'm coaching at the moment going, oh God, it's really weird because I'm fine, but I'm not sleeping. No, it's because we actually all are taking on a huge amount of anxiety, whether we think we're demonstrating that or not. Really do understand that it will be processing through your system. And if it's not coming up now, it will be coming up at some point. So just let it go for a walk, let the fear come up a little bit, but then allow it to come up and say, right, it's completely normal for me to feeling like this. I'm just checking I've done my CIA. I'll do CIA at the end. So just be really aware of how you're feeling, and that you're not a failure if you have moments of feeling real fear or real anxiety, or that you just want to go and hide under the duvet, and all of those things. You don't have to follow through, because feelings are just feelings, but you do have to acknowledge it because it's telling you something. Please, please, please don't put your needs under everybody else's. Neha, you're smiling. It's so important. And you've got to understand that this is social conditioning. This is not some evolutionary part of a woman's body and mind, that we are somehow less important than the other people in our environment. This is social conditioning that has created a feeling in us that we somehow aren't as important as the people around us. You've got to look after yourself first, and then you'll be far better at your business and far better in your life and supporting the people around you if you do take that time. The adventure, not drama, is my motto. So I won't go into it all now, but I had certainly many years there of total drama in my life where I didn't really control what was happening. I was being whipped up into the external dramas that had happened to me and other people's dramas. And so my personal mantra in life at the moment is I want adventure in my life, not drama. And there's a massive, massive difference. When you go on an adventure, be that a business adventure, be that a physical adventure in our minds at the moment, rather than actually, Or an adventure into midlife dating again, or an adventure into starting different things, or an adventure seeing this, and I don't mean this in any way disrespectful to what's happening, but to see this as an adventure rather than a drama gives you control over this adventure. You can say, right, these are choppy waters, but here's what I've got to bring to the table. Here's how I'm going to navigate it. Here's how I'm going to spread calm and good information. I'm not going to spread, gossip and heightened anxiety stuff. So when you're in charge of a drama, you're in charge. An adventure. When you're in a drama, it's all over the shop. So that's my motto. And it's the same with business, same with life. Trying not to get sucked into drama and try and stay in course on the adventure that you have decided that you want this to be that this COVID crisis, be that your business, be that your life. Going back to your compass, what are your life goals? So I think I said this in the last one, Pauline, when all this started and I had my first weekend when the schools were shut, and I went into absolute panic mode, not externally, but internally. How the feck am I going to do what I need to do and have 3 kids at home and give them a routine and get them? So I let myself feel it and come through it and out the other side. And I decided that what is my top value? What is my top goal at the end of this virus, bar us obviously being safe? It was that me and my girls have come out the other side of this still functioning as a family and actually possibly having enjoyed as much of it as we can. That means I've had to let go of a lot of other stuff that before would have been much more important. So, the house was a mess. We're sleeping a lot more than I would have liked. But you know what? Because and I have to keep grinding myself in that. What is my top goal at the end of this? When we are finally allowed to walk out that door and my kids go back to school, I want them to have gone, that wasn't too bad. That's my goal. So that allows me to keep every so often when it all becomes a bit much. And yesterday was absolute mayhem. My eldest, she's 15. She really hit her yesterday. Very low. It hadn't happened at all up until now. Very low. It started with rage and tantrums and just nearly destroying everybody else in the house. We were like gorillas in the mist. Don't make eye contact. Walk with your back against the wall. Don't make any sudden moves. Because she just couldn't cope with all her emotions. And all that rage through the day until last night it ended up in tears. And that was okay. That's good. So I just think, everyone's going to have hit different points. But if you have your resetting the compass all the time, understanding what's important, then you triage in that moment. Because suddenly all the plans I had for yesterday had to be triaged because I had to manage that really carefully. And when you triage and you do it intentionally, you then don't feel like you're like, oh crap, I didn't get that done. You've made a decision. Actually, triage. What's important right now? I've got to deal with this. It's okay, I can actually do that tomorrow. And you've planned it and you're intentional. And which leads me nicely to the next one, which is that keep present. The past is done. Even if it was yesterday, it's done. The future is totally unknown, as we know. So the only thing we can manage is today. Setting our compass, keeping our compass, triaging, and understanding that this is the only moment we can actually have any control over how we respond and how we think. So, and I mean, people talk about mindfulness, and I don't sit and I don't meditate in a maybe traditional way. But for me, my meditation every day without fail has to be my walk with my dog, and it sets me for the day, and I set my sort of intentions, and it just grinds me. So that's my meditation. And I'm starting to, whenever I feel myself go off down the drama route or anything else, I go into the garden and I just try and keep that presence piece so that I can get back in control of my mind. Because when we go off into the drama and go down the rabbit hole, we're really not in control anymore. So that leads on to the COVID care piece, because obviously there's an extra slide from the original one. Just at the moment, we may have completely different values than we would have had a month ago. I mean, sorry, I just wanted to get, who just set up the vegan, Sarah? So yeah. For example, literally, 5 weeks ago, all of your focus was on opening a shop.
Yeah.
Completely different priorities and values now in the space of 2 or 3 weeks. And I know all of you with this various different things are doing the same thing. So take the time to do that and do it intentionally. And our compass has been knocked off, but if we know what our original, why did you set up that? I'm not asking you to answer now, you can afterwards, but why did you set up that business? What was the ethos behind it? What were you trying to do? What is it you want from that? Okay, keep that now in the context, how there may be different values right this minute. And it's like you're saying, it's now protecting those staff as opposed to giving them jobs, all that kind of stuff. Our priorities are going to be different. We're going to have very different expectations. And this is probably one of my biggest things that I'm seeing with some of the women that I coach. Less so now, I think, as it goes on, but certainly in those first 2 or 3 weeks. The stress people were putting on themselves to be working at exactly the same capacity as they would have if they'd been in an office or they had their kids were at school, plus they've got their kids at school, plus they've got whatever. You have to completely reevaluate your expectations of yourself right now. And what's possible. Hopefully this is just a pause. And again, I don't want to undermine genuine distress and whatever, but I think a lot of people are also really seeing an opportunity to benefit from this pause. Just like not having to commute. I mean, everything is just being stretched a little more. I'm noticing for myself things like I was always rushing the breakfast because we had to get to school. Then I was getting to school, then I had to rush the dog walk because the dog walk was then I had to come home and do this, and then I'd rush that, and then I'd rush the dinner because I had to do. I'm just doing those things now. And I really hope when this is over, I keep that. So that different expectations works both ways. Have a better expectation of ourselves in terms of just being able to slow it down a little bit and take advantage of this and reevaluate. So go back to that compass. Where do you need to go? Do you need to course correct? Do you need to press pause? What do you need to do right now, this week, versus the 5-year plan that you have pinned on your wall behind you, that we did in January, that has no relevance whatsoever now, 6 weeks later. This is a little trick that I use. It's a sort of psychology trick, and it's still one of the best things I do. And I call it the CIA, and it's obviously not about calling in the feds because they're got enough problems over there. This is ICIA everything. What can I control? What can I influence? And what do I need to accept? The accept piece is the most important piece. The quicker you accept something, you don't have to like it. You don't have to like it, but the quicker you accept something, you get back into your power zones, which is control and influence. Unfortunately, a lot of us spend our time trying to change the thing we have to accept, and we rail against it. So I'll give an innocuous example as opposed to this. You've decided to have a big family picnic or something, and you wake up and it's raining unexpectedly. And we can rail against the rain till we're blue in the face, but you're not going to change the rain. So the quicker you accept the situation, the quicker you get back into your power of controlling and influence. Well, I can influence how we all manage this, whether we make this an adventure or drama. Do we now ask everybody to make a decision, an idea of where we go, or do I just make a decision? What can I control? I can control who goes, who knows what, how do we get somewhere, whatever. But if you spend all your time going, I can't believe it's raining, oh God, what am I going to do? It's raining and it's ruined, the whole thing is ruined, we're not going to do anything, and it's, it's my father's 70th birthday, we're all meant to be out in a party and it's ruined. You're not doing anything. Get out of accept as quickly as possible, back into control and influence. And it couldn't be more relevant again now in this situation. We have to accept we can't do X, Y, and Z at the moment. So get out of that space as quickly as possible and back into, well, what can I control? What can I influence? What can I do? Do I need to press pause? Do I need to keep going? I've been putting, I had a course I was about to run. I was doing different things, all gone. So I made a decision, well, I can influence by putting a lot of stuff out there for free, helping people where I can, managing my current clients, doing what getting out of that space of no control, trying to change something you can't, as quickly as possible, and back into your control and influence area. And then finally, to quote Stephen Covey, the key is taking responsibility and initiative, deciding what your life is about and prioritizing your life around the most important things. And I think what's super important when you are running a business is that often you think your business priorities are the only priorities. And it's about ensuring that your life priorities are woven in with the business priorities, and that you schedule work around and life around that, as opposed to just you don't schedule your life around your work. It's an interwoven thing. So I'll go back off into the thing, and then Pauline, if you want to organize, or hang on. So stop sharing. Oh, Evan's back.
Thank you, Alana.
You love it when the technology works. Oh, will I switch off the recording then? Hang on.
Yes, please. Yeah.